Hello all sentient beings and welcome to Transmissions Alt Mode, where we talk all news, comics, and media related to the... On this episode of Transmissions Alt Mode, we review Transformers Lost Light issue 19, finally. Now you can download Transformers Unicron issue 0 for free, and we get a look at the upcoming vinyl repressings of the Transformers G1 score. Today is Friday, July 6, 2018, and this is episode 84 of Transmissions Alt Mode.
Welcome to Transmissions Alt Mode, the podcast that's feeling a much bigger loss than the Toys R Us stores closing, the shutdown of the go90 app. I'm your host Charles, aka Big C, and I'm joined by the excellent Transmissions team. Jeremy, aka Yakko.
I called it. How you doing?
And Daryl, the Cybertronian Beast.
Hey, that's too bad. Go bye 90. Oh, that's terrible. Anyway,
Gone 90.
Gone. That's way better.
That's what I said months ago.
Let's discuss Transformers.
Really? We're gonna have a discussion. Okay.
Over poutine.
All right, let's start off. We got to talk about our lovely Donatrons, and in particular, we're going to highlight Robin, who has recently doubled his pledge. Thank you, Robin. We really appreciate it. You are Patreon of the week this week.
All it took was going to $2 from one. Or maybe we have our first Beauvais level person.
Maybe.
Not.
Maybe.
Probably not.
Also, if you haven't already, you should listen to this week's Transmissions, episode 284, because we have announced our official set of prize packs for the upcoming 5-year anniversary mega contest. Daryl went through all of them in Transmissions 284, so go listen to all the descriptions of what's in those prize packs. But we just want to make you aware, because you should definitely check them out, because we're going to give away a lot of stuff in August. If you want to have a chance to get one of those mega contest prize packs, you just got to become a Transmissions Donatreon, and you can do that either through PayPal or Patreon. Go to transmissionspodcast.com/support. And if you got to sign up before the end of July, so July 31st, that is the last day to sign up to be entered into our contest. If you miss July 31st, you're going to have to wait till the 10-year mega contest.
We might have something to do before then. We're not guaranteeing it. There's been no plans or discussion, but you're going to want to get in on this one. We've been collecting this crap for a lot of years now.
And we've got a page on our website that details all of the prizes and everything. So check that out. We'll have a link in the show notes, and you should be seeing them on all our social media and everywhere. So, got a little bit less than a month to go, but plenty of time to sign up for the Patreon. And speaking of Donatreon and Patreon exclusive perks, we've got our latest episode of Transmissions Declassified. So this is episode 10. This was our June Transmissions Declassified. It went up June 30th, so it was not late. And in this one, Yoshi took the wheel and talked all about Transformers vinyl record albums with a friend of the show, Duggernaut. And we've got a clip. Yoshi sent in a clip.
Now, I do know that since those releases, there have been reissues or re-releases of the movie soundtrack. Is there anything different between those other than that they're more recent?
Well, in 2014 is when we first got the repress. First represses happened. They were both released by the record label Music on Vinyl. So we had a regular black vinyl release from that was released in Europe, and then there was another limited numbered pressing as well in clear blue. So I've heard it referred to as spark blue.
I haven't even seen this one.
And that one was, I'll send you a picture later.
Yeah, please do. Let's put it in the show notes.
That one was released in the Netherlands. So in that one,
And you have this. You have this
yes.
one.
Yeah. Yes, I do.
All right. And if you want to hear more, all you got to do is become a Transmissions Donatreon and listen to that whole episode. Plus the other 9 Transmissions Declassifieds we've put out. So we put that out every month. A new episode where we do a deep dive into a Transformers topic.
Can't believe we've done 9 of or 10 of them already.
Yeah.
And we're coming up on a year.
It's crazy. Do we know what we're doing next?
We have an idea, but we're not going to announce the topic until it's been recorded. You don't want to set us up with if it falls through.
Of course not.
All right. Well, let's get into some comics news. So we've got some Unicron related news. First up, the Free Comic Book Day Unicron number 0 that was released as IDW's special lead-in to their universe-ending Unicron series. That has now has a digital release on Comixology. So if you missed out on the Unicron physical issue, you can go get the digital version on Comixology for free. So please enjoy that awesome Alex Milne art and the John Barber words and the Sebastian Chang colors. We'll have a link to that, direct link in the show notes, so you can go get your Unicron number 0. And in other Unicron news, we have an announcement of the Unicron trade paperback. So will collect all 6 issues of the Unicron series. So, of course, this is not going to come out till next year, but we do have the listing on Amazon now. It's listed for $20. And it's coming out on my birthday in 2019, March 12th. That's nice.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm sure they'll send you a free copy, right?
Yeah, right. But yeah, so I mean, we are going to review all the issues of Unicron this year as they come out. But if you are waiting for the trade, you've got a little bit of a wait, about a 9-month wait before the trade gets here. Enjoy your Unicron. So that's all the comics news. Now let's move on to our comic review. All right, so this week we are doing a review of Lost Light number 19. This is the beginning of the end, the final story arc of Lost Light. The Crucible Part 1, A Dance Before Dying. Written by James Roberts, art by E.J. Sue, colors by Joanna LaFuente, letters by Tom B. Long, editor David Marriott, and publisher Greg Goldstein. So we've got 2 regular covers and the retailer incentive cover. Cover A by Nick Roche and Josh Burcham shows Team Rodimus squaring off with their guns drawn. Cover B is by Nick Roche and Josh Burcham, and this is some of the mutineers of the Lost Light. Looks like they're squaring off for Team Rodimus. So it looks like these covers kind of form a single image. They're squaring off against each other. You got Brawn, Huffer, Hound, Blue Streak, Inferno, and Blaster. So a lot of classic G1 bots there. And then the retail incentive cover by Nick Roche. That's just the line art for cover A. Daryl, which cover are you picking here?
I'm having a real problem with these. I like Nick Roche's art a lot, but for some reason, these covers aren't doing it for me. I think they're too busy. They kind of look like there should be connecting covers, like you said. But in my head, I don't think there are connecting variants on these.
There's nothing in the art that's like, there's nothing, no like middle piece.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like no overlapping art that would link these two directly.
No, I think when it comes to Nick's art, I think his more simplistic stuff is what I like more. When he does these larger scenes with more complex designs, I think it gets a little too busy. I mean, it doesn't help that the color palette of cover A is very blue toned. So, I mean, almost everybody in that scene has a blue tone to them. And I think Josh washed the whole cover in blue anyway. I think I guess I'm going to go with cover B. I honestly am not a fan of either cover. I think cover B is probably my favorite out of all of them.
All right. Jeremy, which one are you picking?
If I had to pick one, I agree with Daryl. I probably would pick cover B. However, I'm picturing these like framed side by side or mounted side by side in like display cases. I think they do complement each other, but I agree with what you said about all the blue in cover A. It's just there needed to be maybe some other character, maybe replacing Whirl or Brainstorm with a different color palette. Because there's just so much blue in that picture. Whereas cover B, you have red, you have some green. I mean, it's just everyone is, pretty much a different color palette. So you can really easily tell all the different characters. But I mean, I do like the look of them. Maybe I would end up getting cover B, and if I could, the retailer incentive, and have that side by side. It really does seem like there was a cover C that was missing that would fill in the middle.
And it would allow the wash to kind of gradient out. It
would kind of like blend the two colors together.
Maybe it was Getaway in the middle, and they're all aiming their guns at Getaway and his whoever's still loyal to him.
I mean, who knows? It could be next issue would have more in a series that fill this out a little bit more.
I've looked ahead, and I don't believe any covers for Nick have been done for the foreseeable future anyway. Not to say he hasn't done any for any future ones, but for the next couple, I don't think he has.
Okay.
All right. I am also going to pick cover B. I just like showing those classic G1 bots there. I mean, these are all the bots on the Lost Light that you never hear from, These guys have been on the Lost Light, I think, since the beginning. Well, except for Blue Streak. I think they've been there since the beginning, but they've always been just background characters.
I forgot Hound was on there.
Yeah. But it's cool to see. Like, these are some of the bots I played with as a kid. I had a Huffer, I had a Brawn, I had a Blaster. All right. So let's get into the story. Picking up directly where we left off from the end of Lost Light number 18, Team Rodimus and the Scavengers have recently united on the medical center / euthanasia clinic of the original Maderi Center, which they also realized was mistaken by the Knights of Cybertron as Cyber Utopia so long ago. So the Lost Light's quest is over, but it's not the end of their journey. Just when everyone was catching their breath, a horde of nightmare creatures appeared in the sky above, descending to attack. But Rodimus knows these monsters. It's the mutinous crew of the Lost Light. Somehow they've all been turned into Spark Eaters. At first, Rodimus and crew hesitate. The Spark Eaters don't immediately attack, and some of the bots hope their friends can still be reached inside the diseased monsters they've become. Brainstorm approaches the Spark Eater Perceptor, trying to reason with him and get him to remember who he is. Perceptor stands silently for a moment, and then vomits a stream of corrosive liquid into Brainstorm's chest. It's officially time to panic. Nautica drags Brainstorm out of harm's way, while Ultra Magnus orders a full retreat. After screaming in terror, the Scavengers and Team Rodimus transform and roll out. As they put more distance between themselves and the Spark Eaters, they see a starship approaching from above. As they get closer, they see a robotic dinosaur drop out of the ship and transform into the familiar robot mode of Grimlock, as he lands on a heap of Spark Eaters. He doesn't hesitate at all as he uses his Energo sword to slice one of the unlucky Lost Light crew members. Kind of looks like Mainframe into two. Ultra Magnus recognizes Grimlock and tells him to stand down because the Spark Eaters he's indiscriminately slaying are Autobots. Meanwhile, the ship above fires some blasts to scatter the Spark Eaters and then lands nearby. From the ship come the unlikely saviors of First Aid, Riptide, Thunderclash, and Wipeout to greet Rodimus and crew. Misfire and the Scavengers are happy to be reunited with Grimlock, much to Ultra Magnus's surprise, and Rodimus is happy to see First Aid. He's less happy to see former mutineers Riptide and Thunderclash. Grimlock, First Aid, and the others catch Team Rodimus and the Scavengers up on how they got here. Grimlock fought his way out of Scorponok's Decepticon World Sweeper ship and was adrift in deep space. He activated an Autobot distress call beacon, which was picked up by Riptide and First Aid after they escaped the Lost Light and were on their way to Troja Major to get Thunderclash repaired. After being rescued, Grimlock agreed to help them track down Getaway and the Lost Light. On Troja Major, they met Wipeout and contracted him to charter a quantum ship to continue their chase. First Aid had left a tracker in the Lost Light's metabay before they escaped. He tells Rodimus how Getaway has gone completely off the deep end, putting scraplets in the oil reservoir, altering Bot's memories, and even murdering crew members. Suddenly, a blast from above knocks everyone off their feet and cripples Wipeout's ship. Rodimus looks up and sees the Lost Light with the Knights of Cybertron symbol used by the Grand Architect painted on its underside. Inside the Lost Light, Getaway is at the oil reservoir giving orders to Starsaber piloting the ship. He gives the order to fire again on Team Rodimus and company, but Starsaber tells him they're out of proton missiles, since they used most of them against the Phantom Fleet. Getaway then gives the order to pull back while they send in the rest of the Spark Eaters. Another voice doesn't approve of Getaway's tactics, saying if he was serious, his enemies would be dead by now. Getaway is annoyed at the speaker, who is just a holographic projection and isn't even physically there with him, by the way, and tells him he'll do what the Grand Architect asked, but he's going to have a little fun along the way. Back on the ground, our heroes watch the Lost Light fly off as the Spark Eaters close in on them on the ground. Rodimus hesitates to hurt his former crew, but the Scavengers have no reservations and start blasting. Croc picks off Joyride, another unlucky casualty, as more Spark Eaters advance. First Aid and Riptide start distributing weapons to the other bots, and Ultra Magnus gives the order to shoot to incapacitate, not kill. Unfortunately, the Spark Eaters have lots of exposed fuel lines that are prone to explode when hit, and Spark Eater Bluestreak is another unlucky casualty from a stray shot by Ratchet. Meanwhile, the Jackpot Spark Eater gets close enough to burn off Rung's arm with his acid breath before being blasted by Thunderclash. As more bots fall to the reluctant fire from Team Rodimus and the Scavengers, Rodimus tries to figure out what to do next. He asks what would Megatron do? Megatron wouldn't rush blindly into action. He'd think things through, consider all the options, and figure a way out of this mess. And as Rodimus's head clears, he figures out what to do. Back on the bridge of the Lost Light, Getaway continues arguing with his disapproving associate's remote holographic projection, who turns out to be former Chief Justice Tyrest. Tyrest tells Getaway they can't afford for him to play games, and he's calling in reinforcements to help clean up his mess. Getaway continues to argue that he's not playing and he's got to finish the Autobots once and for all so they don't derail the Grand Architect's plans. Back on the ground, Rodimus has split the group into two teams. Most of the bots have retreated to the Maderi Center Ward 0 bunker and barricaded themselves inside while they work on figuring out a cure for the Spark Eater plague. But the Spark Eaters outside are closing in, using their acid breath to breach the doors, so they'd better work quick. The other team, consisting of Rodimus, Magnus, Drift, Cyclonus, Whirl, Thunderclash, Roller, Anode, Lug, and Crankcase, use the diversion of the first team to double back to Wipeout's ship, repair it, and fly to the Lost Light. Crankcase pilots the ship to the Lost Light's shuttle bay, which curiously doesn't have its shields up. They land in the shuttle bay without incident, but as they exit the ship, the shields go up, cutting off the path back to their ship, and the exit doors start closing, trapping them in Shuttle Bay 4, all except Rodimus and Cyclonus, who managed to slide under the door just before it closed. Everyone watches as a series of explosions is set off above the ceiling of the room they're in. Roller asks what's above Shuttle Bay 4. Magnus's answer, the oil reservoir. The same oil reservoir Getaway filled with red scraplets. Red scraplets that can combine. Just at that moment, the ceiling gives way and the team is engulfed in a sea of oil. And they're not alone. The red scraplets have combined into a giant multi-tentacled sea monster that looks very hungry. Meanwhile, Rodimus leads Cyclonus to the ship to find Getaway. Cyclonus spares a thought for the others they left behind, but Rodimus isn't concerned since they're all heavy hitters like Grimlock and Thunderclash and can take care of themselves. Rodimus is totally fixated on Getaway, who he knows will be on the bridge. And as they turn another corner, they run straight into him, flanked by Star Saber and Scorponok. To be continued. Next issue, Inferno. Is it Inferno the Autobot or just a metaphor? So that is Lost Light number 19. This was really ramping things up. I think we got a lot of action in this book. It looks like all the More Than Meets the Eye Lost Light villains are teaming up. We've got a legion of baddies here. I mean, Getaway pretty much hates Tyrest, so it's interesting to see Getaway working with Tyrest, working with Scorponok, working with the Grand Architect. So I'm looking forward to the rest of this final story arc for the Lost Light. So we got the answer to Cyber Utopia last issue, but now we've got to clean up all the dangling plot threads that have been going on for the last 6 years. I think it's going to be a good one. This was a good start. At least I enjoyed it. So Daryl, was this action packed enough for you, or was there not enough action?
This was better. I first want to comment on the art. I thought it was really nice to see EJ Sue's art again. It's been far too long, and I liked the the way that EJ drew a lot of the bots. It was nice, especially when there were explosions going on. Those were really done quite well. There was a lot of emotion put into those explosions, a lot of speed lines and stuff like that. A lot of lines. The story itself is quite actiony. I assume at some point we're going to get a explanation as to what happened to the crew of the Lost Light and how they became Spark Eaters, because we really haven't found that out. They just kind of are now Spark Eaters. You don't just create an army of zombie kind of creatures to occupy and to take care of your heroes.
I'm sure Getaway will monologue in the next issue.
I assume so. Now, Tyrest, is he a Bumblebee type thing? Is he real but a figment of his imagination? Is Getaway is he crazy? Is Tyrest is he actually dead, and Getaway's just imagining him? I guess we don't know that fully yet.
No, I'm pretty sure it's not, because Tyrest escaped at the end of the first season. He was not dead. He never died. He was captured at the end when they beat him on Luna 1, and then in the prose story at the end of that book, he escaped.
So why is he in like a ghostly form here, riddled with bullet holes?
Because he's a hologram. He's a hologram. Remember, he said, "I'm not here. I'm a holographic projection."
Gotcha.
So think Star Wars. Help me, Obi-Wan. You're my only hope.
Gotcha. Also, he is riddled with bullets. That is not mentioned.
That's the holes he drilled into himself. Yeah.
Oh,
way back in season 1, he was drilling all.
I
don't
remember this stuff. You gotta remind us all here, Dr. Charles. I don't remember the books back then.
Tyrest was crazy. He had some kind of like mental disorder that made him think that he was sinful, and he had to drill holes into his body to let the sin come out. And he drilled a hole right in the center of his head.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so he's nuts.
I think the story is good. It doesn't really take us very far. It puts half the crew or half the cast on the Lost Light. It puts half the cast dealing with these Spark Eaters. The action's pretty good. The story's decent. I would like to see. I want to see what happened to the Spark, or to make the Spark Eaters. Yeah, but other than that, it's good. Yeah, I'm happy with it.
Jeremy, what did you think?
I have to echo what Daryl said about the art. EJ Sue's art in this was amazing. I did have some issues, particularly like when the Spark Eaters were attacking, just kind of telling who the Spark Eaters were when they were like being demolished by Grimlock and stuff. But I think that's more just the review copy because it was like right under the watermark. It's very kind of anime-esque in some of the scenes, like when the Perceptor Spark Eater is like spraying the acid vomit on Brainstorm. That panel it looks like something that you would see out of an anime where we like go kind of to a drawn look real quick. And I like that. What we see in the book in terms of like what is actually happening, the action stuff, I think is fine. I enjoyed it. I like all the setup. What I did not like is we got wrap up of like a whole nother arc that happened that we're never going to see in the matter of a few exposition panels with the whole like first aid and Thunderclash and all that. How did they escape? That was a whole arc that got cut because they're ending the series, and it's just a word dump here. And I think that's sad because that would have been a fun story to see.
Yeah.
But I mean, other than that,
although it would have been back at Troja Major again. We were already at Troja Major with the Nautica and Velocity and Anode and Lug. So we would have gotten another story on Troja Major.
Well, it would have been nice to see kind of that parallel and them like be there at the same time and like miss each other.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been really interesting, but missed opportunities. I imagine at that point, Roberts knew the book was ending and he was focusing on what he wanted to actually get done on panel. The Scraplets, I think the design of that creature is really good, really scary. Although it does kind of remind me of like something that you would see from the recent RID cartoon, like one of the Decepticons. It just kind of has that feel to me in how it looks.
You don't think it looks too much like the creatures from ROM versus Transformers?
The Dire Wraith?
Yeah,
No.
them. No? With the tentacles and all that shit?
Not really.
I got a Dire Wraith feel from it.
In mine, just like the big head kind of made me think of the cartoon, but I didn't really watch the cartoon, so I'm not sure like who it would remind me of. It's just that style just kind of made me think of that. I'm interested to see how they're going to get out of that and who gets out of that, because I imagine not everyone is. And then we're going to get Cyclonus versus Starsaber round 2. I think a lot of people weren't happy with how round 1 was done. So hopefully like Roberts can redeem himself and this be a much more epic fight. So, I thought this was a great start to the arc and, excited to see where it goes.
I did like to see EJ Sue return on art, but I did feel like his art style maybe isn't perfect match for the Lost Light characters. Like, at least I felt like his facial expressions were not the usual emotion that we're used to in Lost Light characters. But also it was interesting to see, like, I think some of them, maybe he didn't get the right models for some of the characters' alt modes. Like in particular, Chrome Dome's mode looks like his toy rather than the kind of Tumblr version that he's had in More Than Meets the Eye and Lost Light.
I think I saw someone mention that Rodimus's alt mode design looks like who's the third party Rodimus? Calidus,
yeah. So I think they should have. And Ratchet looked like his Earth ambulance mode kind of from the back.
Well, I mean that's what EJ Sue drew before.
Is what?
His Earth ambulance mode.
Okay. I'll let that pass.
I was trying to get us past it.
I couldn't let it go.
I did also like the Scraplets combining. That's a callback to the G1 issue 30, where the Scraplets turned into a giant monster when they all merged together. So that's a nice callback. And yeah, this was a good start to the last arc. So I'm looking forward to it. I still don't like Scorponok's tiny hands. He needs to have giant claws. I don't know why he's redesigned his hands to be super tiny. Just get regular hands if you wanted to redesign your hands.
Yeah.
It's just weird. But yeah, hopefully we'll get some double shipping in July and maybe we'll get comics coming a little bit more frequently. But
I'm not holding out hope for double shipping anytime.
yeah. All right, so that was Lost Light number 19. So wasn't that a great review of Lost Light number 19?
So happy that they found the light.
I thought they lost it.
Now it's the Found Light. So next issue will be Found Light number 20. All right, let's move on to some Transformers media news.
All right, in media news this week, we have some information on Cyberverse, the animated series, and that it will air on the Gouli France network. Plans to start, I don't see a start date, but there will be a carnival that is going to take place on July 24th until August the 6th. There will be information and a tent for the Cyberverse toy line there. So there will be some information there. So we're still a little ways off from the beginning of this series. I was expecting it to have started by now, but I guess not. Next up, we have a color sample of the Transformers G1 score on vinyl. This is a repress that because the first one, remember, it came out in those 3 different variants. We got the Megatron variant, the gray, the Optimus variant. Was it blue? No, it was
Optimus was I think blue and red with a white stripe.
Right. And then we got the more common, the Bumblebee variant, which was yellow. So we've gotten a tease as to what the new repress is going to be like. It looks to be gray with blue and yellow kind of markings on it, and it looks pretty neat. So we'll take a look and see. A lot of people think it might be Starscream. It might be, there's a couple that it could be there, but it looks pretty cool. So if you're interested and you missed out on the first pressing, there's another one coming. Next, the Bumblebee trailer we're being told, is D-rated. I don't know what that means.
No, it's trailer D. It's rated PG.
Trailer D is rated PG. There you go. Okay.
I guess it's the 4th trailer that they're putting out.
Looks like it. We just got the first trailer. We're talking about the 4th now. 4th trailer is going to be 2 minutes and 13 seconds. And we don't know when it would be revealed, but we expect some more footage to come out at San Diego Comic-Con, which is the weekend after TFCon. So look for that then. We have some images from a Bumblebee movie event in Brazil. It looks pretty fun. There was a pretty awesome, I'm going to say statue there. I don't think that's a costume, but it was pretty cool.
With some nice Dreamwave art in one of the slides.
Hey, they got to make use of that art somehow. They've had it for so long.
They've had much better art since 2004.
Yes. They paid for it back then. They've got it now.
Yeah,
they're still using it. But yeah, it looks like it was a fun event. They got a lot of people wearing Bumblebee movie T-shirts. Looked like they had a good time. And the Transformers Hall of Fame 2018 TFW 2005 voting is complete. The favorite Transformers character, fictional robot, was Black Arachnia, Unicron, and Springer. And the 2018 Transformers Hasbro Toy of the Year is Power of the Prime's Battle Trap, Studio Series Blackout, and Power of the Prime's Optimus Prime. So that's pretty cool. This is not for the Hasbro. This is for just TFW 2005.
It's what they're submitting to Hasbro.
Oh, is it? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
With like all the other sites like AllSpark and TFU Info, and their Hasbro takes that and then decides what they're going to do.
The winner and the ones that will be submitted or go into the Hall of Fame, I guess, will be announced at San Diego Comic-Con. And lastly, we made a stab at it during the intro. Verizon is shutting down the video streaming app go90. This there's a big article here. It basically boiled down, I read a little bit about it, boiled down to the companies, or sorry, the people that were putting their content on it, saying that the Verizon wasn't supporting it enough and they were limiting their content distribution to a wider audience. So it looks like that's likely the reason it failed. Also, it was dumb. So if you've got stuff on that app and you really like it, it's going to be done and over with by July 30th. Jeremy, did you want to weigh in on that?
Well, I mean, it's not a surprise. I mean, we've talked about this for a long time, but I figure there's so many other outlets for media these days. You'll see the stuff on YouTube. Like YouTube Premium is now a big thing, and it's available worldwide. There are other things. Tumblr, where we're seeing the Power of the Prime stuff has been put on. I mean, now we can probably see why they're putting it on there.
Of course. I'm
not really worried for the content creators on this, because I think everyone knew that it was pretty much DOA for a while.
But yeah, that's going to be it, and that'll be the end of media news. Except we're going to talk about Power of the Primes episode number 10. I believe this is the last one. How are they going to end it? How are they going to end this? I don't know. We'll find out right now. Okay, and here we are at the end of the Prime Wars saga, the end of Power of the Primes, Season 3, Episode 10, Saga's End. And this one was interesting. It's definitely... It answered all the questions that I thought were answered or were asked throughout this particular series. It even answered a couple from previous series, and even left the door open for possibly more series. A couple highlights for me were that we get some really great 1986 movie lines from Megatron between him and Unicron, which were fabulous. Megatron steals the show once again with some great lines. He says shit, which I think was fantastic. This was just great. Charles, before we get into like specifics of the episode, what were your highlights, or what some of the things that stuck out to you?
Yeah, everything you mentioned. I mean, just Megatron. This entire series, I think, was all Megatron's arc, and this was the capper here. Megatron actually making the noble sacrifice. I thought that was cool. It seemed like he worked with the Ghost of Solus Prime to get Megatronus's attention.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was interesting that he actually kind of executed that plan. And I thought it was a nice end to the series. I do have some nitpicks. We can get into that later, but I thought this was a satisfying conclusion for the most part.
I agree. One of the questions going into the episode was, where the hell was Predaking? Because we saw him at the beginning, and he does show up at the end. I believe Megatron's line was, "About damn time, Predaking." He comes in and he starts fighting with Megatronus. Megatronus is a god. So a combiner, as powerful as Predaking is still really no match for him. It's unfortunate, but Predaking dies. It's a good battle. I mean, I enjoyed it, but Megatronus seems to have something about tearing the heads off of combiners. So Predaking loses his head.
And this still bothers me. I mean, combiner heads are not where the life force of the combiner is. They're 5 distinct components. You can't just rip. Even regular Transformers, if you cut their head off, that doesn't kill them.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know that's nitpicky, but
mm-hmm.
make them at least look a little damaged. I mean, like, you can't just pop the head off and say, okay, they're dead. That's, I don't know. That's not how Transformers works. That's not how any of this works.
Yeah. Even, I mean, getting into like the toys of combiners, the combiner head isn't even the head of the torso. figure. So
Right.
it shouldn't even kill the torso guy.
Right.
You could make a case for that. At least it kills him. But yeah, the episode goes on. Solus Prime is not fond of what Megatronus is doing to get her back. So like you alluded to earlier, Megatron and Solus Prime have Megatron is working with her to basically get Megatronus and kill him, essentially. She grabs him somehow. It doesn't really get answered, but she uses some kind of god power and pull him into the Well of Allsparks, and he's dead. This happens a third of the way through the episode, and I was watching the show, and I was like, what? He's dead already? What's gonna, like, they're only like 3 minutes into the episode. What's gonna happen the rest of the show? Still a little bit, not a whole lot more action, that's for sure. One of the things that Jeremy had mentioned last episode is that will we get Hot Rod back? And that does get answered. Optimal Optimus pulls the Unicron Matrix. I can't remember what they called it. I think it's that. That's what they...
The Matrix of Chaos.
Right. Matrix of Chaos. That's a thing now. They pull that out of Hot Rod Unicron, or Rodimus Kron. Gotta get these names right. And he goes back to being Hot Rod again, which, okay, there he goes. And this is the part when you start to get the lines from Megatron and Unicron, because the Matrix kind of floats over to Megatron and starts talking to him as Galvatron. And this is another throwback to the 86 movie, showing us that this is in that universe, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that we haven't really seen in official Transformers fiction. Like, the idea that after the cartoon ended, Galvatron somehow was able to turn back into Megatron. That's something that has been explored in Transformers fanfic, but has never been like any part of an official continuity. So I still want that story. I would be interested in having them go back and tell that story of how Galvatron was turned back into Megatron, and how that, like, I would guess you could wrap that up with also ending the whole Autobot Decepticon war and how they got exiled and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. To me, the most interesting part of this Prime Wars universe that is just backstory that apparently will never be told.
No. There are a couple things that I kind of made me kind of shake my head a little bit during the episode, but I kind of got over it, because you mentioned it at the start. Megatron's noble sacrifice. He knows that he can't resist the Unicron and the Matrix of Chaos. So he tells Optimal Optimus to kill him, to use the Requiem blaster and blast him while holding this thing so that he is, destroyed. Thing is we've seen this blaster shoot before. It blew a hole in the planet. Optimal Optimus shoots Megatron. He's standing in front of the other Autobots.
Yeah, I was thinking, I was like, you guys should get out of the way.
You're standing in a really bad spot, guys. So, anyways.
But then after the blast was over, Perceptor said that the Matrix absorbed most of the energy. So I guess that's why you didn't have that huge swath of destruction like the last time.
I guess that makes sense. Then immediately after that whole thing was explained away, we get the reveal that somehow Optimus Prime is alive again. And he just he just emerges from the Well of Allsparks with a body. How that got there, I don't know. It's there. He seems to have all his memories intact, and he knows Optimal Optimus's name without even being introduced to him, which I thought was hysterical, because he calls him out by name right away. And I'm like, how do you know this guy? But so Optimus Prime is back. The crack in his windshield is gone because he's got a new body. Yeah, so it does get explained. Charles, do you want to explain how it's explained? Because I really didn't understand it.
It's very hand wavy. I mean, since Optimus Prime is a Prime and he's connected to the Matrix, when he was killed by Megatronus and Megatronus's evil was dispersed, his connection to the Matrix allowed him to be reborn because, you know, he was still connected to the Prime. So that's why his spark was reignited. But nobody else got to be reignited. Nobody like when Solus Prime absorbs Megatronus and their energy, I guess, creates a whole new set of sparks. That's what like goes and like disperses throughout the planet. Though none of the other sparks that were killed got reborn. I mean, they make a point to say, "Oh, everyone else who was killed is really dead. Sorry." But since Prime was connected to the Matrix, somehow he gets a a rebirth.
Very hand wavy, like you said. Yeah.
Yeah, and I say boo to that. I say you should have just left him dead. I mean, Prime coming back to life has been done to death, pun intended. Just let him die. I mean, you killed Megatron, you killed Prime. I mean, have the end of the story be the bots that are left over have to forge a new path for Cybertron. Have that little end conversation be with Optimal Optimus and Windblade, and they're figuring out how to lead Cybertron forward. Leave the old leaders dead.
Have them be martyrs or inspiration.
Yeah, exactly.
We do get a lot of like an exposition dump at the end, and also a kind of a where are they now kind of thing. It says that, you know, Windblade is going to be taking on a leadership role. Hot Rod is extensive injuries, blah blah blah. He's may not ever be the same. Perceptor's guarding the Requiem Blaster and the Enigma of Combination. The Dinobots are back together, mourning Sludge, and it's just basically a conversation between Optimus Prime and Optimal Optimus, because they're gonna kind of, Optimal wants to give the Matrix back to Prime, and Prime's like, no, it's yours now. I lost it fair and square because I died. and you kind of grabbed it, you took it up, and that's cool. But we do get one last little piece of kind of what's that? As they're kind of walking off into the sunset, the camera pans back into the dark corner, and we see Starscream laughing in the darkness. Now, is this the ghost of Starscream? Does he have a body back? Did he get, reborn? It's not really explained, but he's there laughing away.
Yeah, I say boo to that too. That was unnecessary.
So we're getting it. I would have liked it to say, because after that little tease of Starscream, it says the screen comes up and says the end. I would have liked to have said, maybe question mark after that, just
right,
to show that it may not actually be over. Do you have any other standout points that you may want to talk about? What are your nitpicks that you've mentioned earlier?
Yeah, I mean, the major things were just those two kind of miraculous reappearances of Optimus Prime and Starscream. That was my major problem. Other than that, I felt like everything was pretty okay. Yeah, my standout was Megatron. Like you said, all the call outs to the 86 movie lines, and then when he's holding up the Matrix and Unicron's like, no, and he's like, oh, shut up, and then he's like, he just tells Primal to shoot him. So that's Megatron stole the show. I thought I would watch another series where Megatron was the main character, even despite all the flaws of the Prime Wars trilogy. I guess another nitpick is the audio mix was not great in this episode either. Like the music was kind of drowning out the voice acting. So they could have toned down the music volume a little bit to let the voices stand out.
That has been an issue kind of on and off over the series.
Yeah.
This particular one, the Power of the Primes, we've mentioned it before, this has been the standout of the three, the trilogy. Mm-hmm. Do you foresee a future series, regardless of whether it's, tied into this or not, from the same people?
I mean, I don't know. I guess maybe they will. It depends on, I guess, if Hasbro wants to do something with their, I mean, the next toy line is going to be the War for Cybertron. So maybe another series in this style, but going back to the war, like the pre-war, pre-Earth, Cybertron conflict. I mean, I think at least for me, this series has been okay. I mean, compared to the previous two, which were pretty terrible, this one has at least been okay. I still feel like the animation needs to improve, or they need to spend a bit more money on the animation, or try to find ways to have more characters. I mean, the cast was pretty small here.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we got one peek of Emissary right at the end there, sitting next to Windblade at the with the "Where Are They Now" bit, but we didn't actually get a line from him at all this series.
If you don't have a lot of new characters doing stuff, have some background shots of some, put some Easter eggs of characters in there who are just like in the background or in a crowd scene or something.
Sure.
Like at the end, this montage at the end would have been a good time to show like a broader population of Cybertron doing something. I mean, they zoomed in on just the characters that were in the series, but Cybertron still feels pretty empty. Like, there's like 10 bots on Cybertron.
Yeah, there was 20. They've killed half of them. I just had a really interesting idea of where they could take this if they did plan on doing a War for Cybertron, like a prequel kind of series. And that last blast with the Requiem blaster may have, if Unicron did take the brunt of it, perhaps he has the power to transport himself back in time, and he pulled Megatron with him back before the war to that kind of thing, and you could start a whole series that way.
Mm-hmm.
That might be interesting.
Might be interesting. Yeah,
but no. Other than that, I kind of enjoyed the series. It was fun. There was the big bots, there was the fighting, there was very little exposition, which was fine by me. We weren't really going to have a big deep story that we were going to have to digest in this. Sure, it's 10 episodes of 10-11 minutes or so a piece, so we're looking at almost 2 hours, or sorry, closing in on 2 hours of audio, or sorry, video here in smaller chunks. They're still trying to make it enjoyable in the small chunks, which is harder to in the smaller chunks if you're trying to stretch out a larger narrative, if you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I said it the other week that I still kind of miss the half hour or the 22-minute shows. I think that if they did have those longer shows, they'd be able to get into a bit more of a narrative. These 10-minute or 11-minute shows are just they're short. They're still a bit too short to actually compose a story. You only have enough time to kind of continue the primary narrative of the overarching story. And I you don't really have the ability to focus on single characters and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I mean, I would have taken 5 episodes of 22 minutes over the 11 minute episodes. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it's just how you package it. I mean, I get that the animation has become increasingly expensive, so it's difficult to justify the having a 12 or 13 22-minute episodes. And that's fine. I mean, but yeah, I'd prefer not splitting them up this much. I mean, it was even worse with Combiner Wars, where had they were like 4-minute episodes. Mm-hmm. So, this at least, I mean, this is like Teen Titans Go or Steven Universe, where you got 15 or 11-minute episodes. Yeah. But I don't think it really works for Transformers.
I mean, it probably could, but I don't think they've. I think it takes it takes a new type of writer to be able to do that. And like you said, Teen Titans or Steven Universe can do that, but they're a really fast paced show. I've watched a couple Teen Titans with my daughter, and those episodes are quick. They go by real fast. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's the same amount of time, but like the stories are flying, these Transformer ones, they're going at a snail's pace. So I think that if they were to try and really maximize this timeline or time spot that you're trying to use, this 11 minutes, they really need to change up the writing of this show. They need to speed it up quite a bit.
I mean, those shows are real. Those Cartoon Network shows are really more episodic than serialized.
Sure.
Like even Steven Universe has a serialized component, but the episodes are structured to be very, tell a single story. With some exceptions, but for the most part, the serialized nature of the story is like a background, but the individual episodes are very much like tell one complete story and then move on to the next story. And with Transformers, if you're going to try to tell like a long form Transformers story, you have to, it's going to be very difficult to break that up into these chunks where each chunk is going to be a satisfying story.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. Well, I think that's probably it for this little review of episode 10. We'll probably wrap this up. This is going to be it for these kind of reviews, unless something else kind of comes along. I don't think we have no plans on reviewing the Cyberverse. That might change. I don't know if any other kind of Transformers show or anything is on the horizon, but we might see something. But for now, this will be the last of one of these. I don't know, Charles, has this been good for you?
We finished strong, I'll say.
All right, then. All right. Well, this is it. Power of the Primes, episode number 10, Saga's End. And now we move on to the rest of the show. Whoa. Can you believe that's how they ended this thing? Man, that was amazing. All right.
Could not believe Optimus Prime came back.
I can't believe Unicron was alive this whole time. It's just wild. Anyway, that's it for media news.
All right, let's finish up the show with some convention news.
All right, we have some news coming out of TFCon Chicago 2018. This is usually where we're getting a lot of TFCon Toronto news, but they have announced that voice actor Bud Davis is going to make his first ever convention appearance at TFCon Chicago in October. He is presented by ages 3 and up, and he is the voice of characters like Dirge, Metroplex, and Predaking in G1. So he will be having Q&A panels and autograph sessions, and it'll be interesting to see, what he has to say. I mean, it's always good to get news stories after, people that come back year after year. You start hearing the same stories. So excited to see a new person.
I always like looking to see what these guys also did, or where they've been,
right?
For the last 30 years.
Yeah. It looks like he is actually better known as a stuntman than a stunt coordinator, which is kind of interesting. His credits include Tango and Cash, Naked Gun 2.5, The Smell of Fear, Hook, Wayne's World 2, Austin Powers movies, Castaway, Inglourious Bastards. So, pretty big movies there.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we're going back to TFCon Toronto. If you are going to be there and you want to come to the meetup that we're planning, or I guess Charles and Daryl are planning, I'm just watching. We have a form. It'll be linked in the show notes and on our website. Just fill it out if you're planning on going. It's basically just getting some basic information. Most importantly, email so we can contact you when plans are finalized. And I'm sure they're looking forward to seeing anyone and everyone. If you are a Patreon, we're probably going to try to cover some of the costs. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work out yet, but when we did it a few years ago, we paid for movie tickets to Spider-Man Homecoming for the Patreon people that went with us.
Mm-hmm.
So we hope to do something similar this time.
That was last year.
Was it last year?
Yeah.
Time flies when you get old. I don't even know. But anyway, the last thing we have here in convention news, Cybfest NW, which is a Transformers convention in Washington State, has pre-registration up. You can pre-register for the show as a dealer or an attendee now through August 5th, 2018. The dealer table includes one adult admission and has the option to register a helper for an additional $10. Regular attendees, actually regular admission is $10, so you're not really getting a discount there. But I guess you get in, to the dealer room early. So dealer tables, the most expensive one is $75 for the 2 6-foot by 2-foot tables and some wall space. They've sold out of their $60 level. Then they have a $45 level, a $35 level, and an artist table for $20. So they also have a layout on their website, so you can click the link in our show notes and see the layout of the dealer room. Yeah, I mean, it looks like fun. It's one of the smaller conventions, but we've reported on them in the last year or two. So if you do go, let us know how it went.
Looks fun.
Yeah, it does. And that is it for convention news.
All right. Well, that takes us to the end of the show. Again, want to remind everyone that if you do want to leave us feedback, you can go to our website, transmissionspodcast.com/feedback. And you can leave us some messages on the website. You can also leave us a voicemail, record a voicemail and upload it to us. It's really easy to do, straight from our website. No software on your side required. You can also hit us up on social media. We're on all the major social media sites. So anything you want to tell us, ask us a question, just let us know. And that's it for the show. Thanks everyone for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Later.
Thanks for listening to Transmissions. Remember, you can help support the show by donating to us directly via Patreon or PayPal. Once you become a donor, you will receive access to donor-only goodies, like donor-only contests, listening to us record transmissions live, and getting transmission swag at 20% off. You can find links for this at transmissionspodcast.com/support. Subscribing to us on Stitcher, iTunes, and Google Play is also a great way to support us here at Transmissions. Every subscription we get helps us get better noticed on those services. Leaving us a comment and 5-star review doesn't hurt either. Be sure to come chat with us on Discord. You will find a link for Discord at transmissionspodcast.com/discord. And of course, you can always send us an email at feedback@transmissionspodcast.com. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you again next week.
I am not even ready for this. I was kind of expecting
You were expecting
a comic review to give me some time here. Shit. How do you pronounce this word?
being from the U.S., I pronounce it gully, but I'm sure that's not right.
You're from Canada. Don't you speak French? You're in Canada.